Good question.
You're still saying that Kiwis will be at the front of the queue. Why can't you say what mechanism yet that will enable that? Why is it still just the statement that it's front of the queue?
Well, the mechanism ultimately is the share allocation process, and those are decisions made by the owners of the shares, which is the government.
So when will we know exactly how it will work, exactly how a Kiwi will get to the front of the queue?
Oh, you'll know in March, April, once the due diligence process by the lead managers has been completed. There will be recommendations to the government on how that might be achieved, and we will make decisions at that time. So before any float begins, we'll be quite clear about how it would work for New Zealand investors.
Why aren't you able to announce it now? I mean, this policy's been on the table for over 2 years now. Surely you must have some ideas on the mechanism that you can tell the public now.
Well, it'll be very much dependent on what comes out of the due diligence process and the market soundings that the lead managers undertake. It's quite clear there are a range of options, from making sure there's guaranteed allocations for New Zealand investors through to whether you might have various incentives for people to hold shares for length of time, etc. So those sorts of decisions will be made early next year, informed by the work that the lead managers have undertaken in the due diligence process.
Will law changes be required to allow the front of the queue option for Kiwis?
No, there won't be law changes required for that, because those are decisions that the owners, that's the government, makes. We're retaining the right to decide what the share allocation is, and that is in order for us to assure people that we're putting New Zealand investors at the front of the queue.
So there could be an allocation, an incentive there for New Zealanders who want to buy shares and sign up for holding them for a long period of time. Is that what you...
Well, those decisions will be made early next year, informed by the advice of the lead managers of the float. But we would want to be quite clear that we've given a very strong undertaking that we want New Zealanders at the front of the queue, and we will be informed of the various options that we've got to make that happen.
What chance of iwi getting first dibs as the Maori Party has lobbied for?
Well, it's not a matter of first dibs, it will be, I mean, look, we've yet to see just how they want to be regarded, but we've got a number of strong New Zealand institutions, Super Fund, ACC, all your KiwiSaver funds, and I imagine iwi may want to be treated in the same way as the other large institutional investors, rather than as mums and dads, for instance.
How are you going to define Kiwi? How are you going to define a Kiwi? What's the...
Well, it's not unusual. It's been retail investors will be New Zealanders, people who respond during the retail offer. I don't think it's anything we have to worry too much about.
But what about if it's an entity that's made up of, some New Zealanders, some people offshore? I mean, sure, you've got to have some sort of criteria.
Yeah. Well, most of that retail investment stuff in our past experience has been very much you can focus that on individuals if you want. And as I say, this is the stuff that will come out of the due diligence process and the recommendations that we get from our advisors. But we're very confident that one of the objectives the government has is we want more and more New Zealanders having a stake in the economy through owning shares in these sorts of businesses. And that's the reason why we can shape the allocation model to favour individual New Zealanders and families in their investments. And I think we've received very, very well.
So there could be an aspect in there that favours individuals rather than entities owning companies' trust.
Possible.
Mr. Ryle, myself and my wife, we are a mum and a dad, and I earn what I would consider quite a healthy whack compared to many other New Zealanders. At the moment, there's no way we could afford to buy any of these shares. How widespread do you think the so-called mum and dad uptake of these shares is going to be? Do you think it's basically going to be concentrated in the very echelons of the salary and wage?
I don't think so. If you look at what happened in the last time that the government had a series of floats underway with the Auckland Airport, the Capital Properties and Contact Energy, you had very, very significant numbers of New Zealand investors, a couple of 100,000 when it came to Contact Energy. So that was a whole lot of people decided they'd like to invest some of their savings in these businesses. And I expect we're going to have very widespread interest from a whole lot of people There will be people who may want to put $500,000 in. They may want to. There may be those who may be in a position to put some more in. I think all the experiences will get a wide-ranging number of New Zealanders interested.
I think there's a couple of other aspects to that too. One is, of course, the ongoing market. So people can't afford it at the time of the float. They can go and buy later. That's one of the benefits of it being on the stock market. And the other thing is that most Kiwis will end up with an interest in these companies directly through their KiwiSaver accounts, and then a bit more indirectly through New Zealand Super Fund, ACC, both of which are entities that they contribute to every year.
How many New Zealanders do you estimate, or is your goal that shares will, that will have shares in Mighty River Power after this? How many thousand?
Look, that's really going to depend on what comes out of the float. I would expect, based on the previous experience, that there will be many thousands of New Zealanders who will want to participate directly. Of course, they'll be participating indirectly with their KiwiSavers and their super funds. But look, I would expect that there'll be very solid interest across the community. And if you look at what happened with Contact, for example, you had, I think, a couple of 100,000 shareholders. So, and many more people interested. So we'll see what comes out of it, but we want to make sure there's widespread ownership, because we think that will contribute to more people having an interest and a stake in the economy.
We're talking tens of thousands, or possibly up around 100,000 mark.
I think it'd be very high.
With iwi, what's the benefit of them being treated like a KiwiSaver or ACC institution? What benefit to them is there?
Oh, just, well, no direct benefit, just size. The question that, as Tony said, about the allocations in the end will be the government's decision, and we'll work through the detail of institutions, their mums and dads, and how they would fit together. I mean, here we are a new type of participant, and we just need to make sure that they will want to make sure, certainly from what they've said to us, they want the best opportunity to be able to participate.
Exactly.
Not in a concessionary way, but just to make it clear there's a pathway for iwi to participate in this.
But that could mean that, an allocation goes to KiwiSaver funds, and an allocation goes to ACC, and an allocation goes to iwi being treated as an institution.
The allocation policy isn't made that way. You'd make decisions will be made about retail investors, New Zealand institutions, that sort of.
Yeah, but if it's in the New Zealand if iwi go in as a New Zealand institution, they'll be sort of treated separately to mums and dads, won't they?
They would be, if they're considered as a New Zealand institution, they get to participate in the pool of shares that is available to New Zealand institutions. There's no concessions in there.
No, I'm not saying that, but it is a different area. Iwi could possibly be in a different area to mums and dads, couldn't they?
And that's the discussion we've got to have. I mean, it's as simple as that if they bid for 50 million of shares, and mums and dads are bidding for 5,000,
exactly.
Well, clearly they're going to be treated differently.
And do you expect iwi to perhaps create an umbrella organisation of all iwi across New Zealand and bid as one?
I expect that they will do, well, they'll organise themselves in a way that enables them to get the best value out of them. I mean, in the end, it'll be up to them.
Yeah. But we could see them bid as one, couldn't we?
That's possible, but I think they want to know, because they're a new type of institution, a new type of bidder, there has to be some discussion about just where they fit.